Let's get into the papers, see what the headlines are across newspapers in Nigeria this morning. I have with me in the studio journalist Dario Dufo-Wokon and the lawyer and public affairs analyst Jide Ologun. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
Great. Let's begin with the Blueprint newspaper now. Blueprint says, as COVID-19 hits 73 countries, DG Disease Control Center, Ihekwazu, quarantined. And Dangote boosts fight with 200 million naira and UN $15 million. Death toll now 3,000. Disease affects 90,000. And Kwara places 16 on watch list. Abia sets up committee. Reps may adjourn. Okay. That's all. It's about the coronavirus, all on the Blueprint newspaper. Now let's go to the Leadership newspaper. And it says Senate begins legislation to monitor service chiefs' appointment. Presents bill for establishment of Armed Forces Service Commission, an agency to ensure reflection of federal character in selection process. You find all that on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. All right. News Direct is where we go next, and 4 southwest states join Ekiti Assembly to pass the Amotekun bill. Okay, strengthening the outfit. From there, let's go to the Daily Trust now. Daily Trust is focusing on coronavirus, and it says outrage as reps resolve. Reps resolve to shut down for 2 weeks, and no sinister in ministries, agencies, and NCDC bars quarantined. State House screens staff and visitors, and Dangote donates 200 million naira to fight the virus. You find all that on the front page of the Daily Trust. All right, from there, let's go to the Daily Times, which is the last paper we'll be seeing at this time, and is focusing on something else. Imo governorship judgment. Supreme Court dismisses Ihedioha, PDP's application. Verdict is endorsement of electoral fraud, says the PDP. And APC congratulates Uzodinma, says electoral judicial reforms expedient. Wonders shall never end, says dissenting justice. Okay, that's voice and opinions there from the Daily, on the front page of the Daily Times. All right, gentlemen, I'd like us to still focus and look at the developments around the country on the coronavirus and all of that. The Director General of NCDC was selected to be on a team by the WHO to go to China for, to assess what is going on there. In fact, it was a recognition of what Nigeria is doing and how they're approaching it. And he got back and was tested. He was negative, and then he decided to self-quarantine, at least for 14 days, just to be very sure. But that sent panic everywhere that, he has the virus and all of that. But certainly they've come out to clarify all of those. But what do you make of Nigeria's preparedness? Because if you go to the airports, actually there has been commendation of how Nigeria is approaching the virus. Dario, let me start with you on this.
Yes, you see, before we had our first test case, the federal government came out to say, we are ready should the virus or anything related to it find its way to Nigeria. Governments of states too, like Lagos State and others, they say, haven't seen what the virus is doing the world over. We cannot but prepare for its coming. And, but a lot of people were pessimistic. There were fears that should this thing come this way, people talked about the lackadaisical attitude of governance in the country and all that. But over time, I think the Nigerian system now, I don't want to say the government, has shown courage and consciousness when it comes to fighting situations like this, protecting lives and preventing the spread of what could put us in more trouble. We have our troubles. Our cups are full already with troubles. So allowing coronavirus to add to it would have been dangerous. We saw Ebola coming. I mean, Ebola came, and you saw how Nigerians, many of them now of blessed memories, stood and fought the virus. So we must commend the various agencies, and in doing that, we cannot but commend the federal government, because facilities And then the media too should take a lot of commendation. There were reports showing lack of readiness in some areas, and what do we see? Immediately such report comes out, you go back to check, that has been fixed.
It's been fixed.
The Nation newspaper ran some reports, we went back there, it was fixed. Punch 2 did it, and you discovered that the media participated strongly in setting agenda for the coming of the coronavirus. And at the end of the day, we are seeing a nation that seems, for once, prepared to face its destiny.
All right, Jide, it is said that when we have a common enemy, you will see a different Nigerian. Because when it comes to that, there is no Hausa, there is no Igbo, there is no Yoruba, there is no Idoma or Igede or Tiv. But when it comes to our own issues, those will spring up. But in Ebola virus, Nigeria showed its fighting spirit. Here we are again. So far, at least Nigeria has really stood up to that challenge. In fact, on international media, there has been skepticism when some questions were asked about the fragile health systems in sub-Saharan African countries. But Nigeria has proven, proven them wrong when it comes to that. What do you make of this?
It's quite commendable that we have expressed diligence in dealing with common enemy. And my thought is that if we have applied the same zeal to the other challenges like electricity, like insecurity, like education, like the health sector generally, by now I think we should be the third most developed country in the world. And having said that, I have also observed too that the COVID-19 is not taken seriously by Nigerians. I see many of them moving around freely, joking about it, talking about how our weather is going to stampede it. But with all this, my attention goes to the House of Reps that is planning to shut down for some weeks for the fear of coronavirus coming into the House and to go for tests and things like that. If this same attitude is expressed towards the ravaging bandits, the kidnappings in the country, the killings, the epileptic electricity and everything, we will go a long way in solving the problems. I suggested it at a time that can the National Assembly shut down on the state of insecurity.
In
because
protest.
you will notice that commendably and with all glory to God, we have not recorded any deaths in COVID-19. But on a regular basis, you hear bandits killing 50, killing 30, killing
and
this.
Nothing is happening.
So can we take governance as a preventive platform where we prevent evil in the society?
We have to leave it here now. A lot of commendation still going on, but certainly no one should rest on the oars. All agencies, government itself, and the people themselves also have to all stick together. We also understand the cure, or at least a breakthrough in the area of finding vaccines or finding things that look towards the cure for coronavirus are being tested to see how
while we wait for
exactly.
So let's claim to have discovered cure for it. So
exactly. So let's leave it here now and look towards how positive things will be ahead as Nigerians fight together, standing against COVID-19. Thank you very much, Jide Ologun, for coming on the program. Dario Dufo-Okon, thank you so much. Right.
It's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. I have with me in the studio journalist Dario Dufo-Okon and lawyer as well as public affairs analyst Jide Ologun. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
You're welcome.
All right, we head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the blueprint. As COVID-19 hits 73 countries, DG Disease Control Center Ihekwazu quarantined. Dangote boosts fight with 200 million naira, UN $15 million. Death toll now 3,000, disease affects 90,000. Kwara places 16 on watch list. Abia sets up committee, reps may adjourn. To the leadership newspaper, Senate begins legislation to monitor service chief's appointment, presents bill for establishment of Armed Force Service Commission, agency to ensure reflection of federal character in selection process. To the News Direct, 4 Southwest states join Ekiti Assembly to pass Amotekun Bill. And on the front page of the Daily Trust, coronavirus outrage as reps resolve to shut down for 2 weeks. No sanitizer in ministries, agencies, NCDC boss quarantined. State House screens staff visitors. Dangote donates 200 million to fight virus. And to the front page of the Daily Times, Imo governorship judgment. Supreme Court dismisses Ihedioha PDP's application. Verdict is endorsement of electoral fraud, says PDP. APC congratulates Uzodinma, says electoral judicial reforms expedient. Wonders shall never end, says dissenting justice. We'll be looking at that story shortly. And to the Nation newspaper, WHO to trace 103 travelers on flight with Italian victim. Nigeria enlists world body. Coughing Chinese on arrival at Lagos airport tests negative. And to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, coronavirus latest, the NCDC boss, Ihekwazu, sent into 14-day self-isolation. We insisted he must undergo 14-day self-quarantine. Health Minister reps to suspend plenary for 2 weeks over coronavirus. Chinese held in Lagos test negative. Index case responding to treatment. 2 users of hotel room after index case traced. 1,811 screened. NCDC. All right, gentlemen, I'm certain you would be interested in the story that's the Imo governorship judgment that was delivered yesterday by the Supreme Court dismissing the PDP's application. Although 6 of them were in agreement, there was one dissenting voice. That dissenting voice talked about the fact that this would have been in the interest of justice if it had reviewed this case. I wonder what you make of this yesterday.
You see, I saw nothing really new in the judgment until I got to the point of the dissenting judge. And I think that, to me, I'm not a lawyer, but to me, it's novel that a judge of the Supreme Court is also of the opinion that the judgment of this apex court
should be reviewed.
Maybe not. It is gradually taking us to a new sphere in our jurisprudence. Because it happened with the issue in Bayelsa. The judges came and said, look, you shouldn't even be here asking us to review this. And for that, the claimants and their lawyers
were fined
heavily. So all Nigerians were looking forward to yesterday to say,
a fine.
It will be a repeat. But 2 things happened. Yesterday, we had a dissenting judge. Yesterday, the lawyers and the claimants were not fined. And this still lends credence to the fact that the law, like my lawyer friends will say, is an ass. When
Language, please.
Yes. When a man from Gongola climbs it or rides it may take him to his destination safely. But if you from Oyo decide to climb it may throw you off before you get to your destination. So you can't just predict. But the sanctity of all this is what will worry laymen like us.
Absolutely.
Is it appropriate? I hope it is not a threat to what we see as the common man's hope, that is the judiciary.
The judiciary.
Will the interpretation of laws and judgments continue to be shrouded in uncertainties? These are things that should worry anybody who
Absolutely.
is
A lot of
interested
Nigerians are worried.
What happens to our judiciary? Because if you look at what happened yesterday, at the point, I learned that even in ADOR, and they still were seeking to withdraw their case. I'm sure it will be out of fear that what befell Lion and his people will befall them.
Absolutely.
But you cannot say yesterday's judgment is the same as the
that
one
of
in Bayelsa.
Bayelsa.
In my opinion, this
All
are
right,
two
let's
different
get
things.
Barrister Jide Ologun's perspective to this.
Exactly.
Perhaps he will put a proper perspective for us because we are the laymen here.
My position from the onset is the fact that nothing stops us from challenging the judicial system. And that is what
Even
we are
at
having
that
now.
level?
Exactly. You know, the Supreme Court came into being on October 1, 1963, when we became a republic. Before then, you could appeal to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, of the British Empire, then established in 1833. And after we became a republic, the Supreme Court became the highest court in the land. That means any decision coming from there, you must abide. But we have now come to a point where people are challenging the authority. So that puts a challenge on the trust capital of the Supreme Court. And
That's worrisome,
isolating,
isn't it?
what?
That's worrisome.
It should be, but the law is dynamic. I mean, and that is why you have the several levels of the judicial system. Now, the dissenting voice, the man expressed his opinion that the electoral jurisprudence will be haunted by that decision. And he feels by law, the decisions of the Supreme Court can be reviewed. And he further expressed the fact that the acclaimed winner now, Governor of Imo, admitted at the tribunal that he seized the results from the INEC officials, completed it by himself, then brought results from 388 polling booths without presenting that of the opposition, that he misled the court. So when the court is misled, they are not gods, they are human beings. And what we are driving at in Nigeria is justice.
Absolutely.
And justice is a strong pillar in democracy.
Democracy.
So I feel I must commend those who are courageous enough to challenge the system. But then, 6 out of 1, he didn't have his way. So the majority also, at the supreme level, threw out the matter for lacking merit. But here we are now. It will no longer be the same. And the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court mentioned something, that they have the final authority by constitution. So we now push it to the National Assembly to begin to look at our need for justice in the country and what can we be done. So can we now say that the Supreme Court, by law, coming out from the legislative arm, should review where there are circumstances? Because don't let us run away from the fact that anything you build on injustice will collapse. And we quickly need to migrate back to the cause of righteousness in this country while accepting the decisions of the Supreme Court. And again, on the basis of the weariness of Ihedioha, I was in the Supreme Court on Monday in the case of Zamfara that was adjourned to 17th of March. And he asked for an adjournment to come back the next day. Of course, he wasn't really sure. And that's why we must commend that courage also. But having said that, the highest court in the land has pronounced. So, and the ball is in the court of the governor of Imo State to deliver on good governance.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Moving forward, your final words on
My
this.
final word on this is it will be in reaction to what Barrister is a lawyer here. Yeah. And if himself and judges of the Supreme Court now feels that the Supreme Court can be challenged, I am afraid that this will now create the worst scenario in that sector, and that is unending litigation. We wait for years for cases to get to the Supreme Court, and we'll say, finally, whatever comes out of here ends this matter. But if it is now given and taken that can also be challenged, then we may have to wait forever for some cases. And the electoral cases, for example, the tenure to be spent is 4 years.
And that could threaten our democracy.
It could threaten the entire democracy because you now get a judgment a day to the end of a 4-year term. And then you have to be sworn in. And once you are sworn in, you must take your own 4 years. Then the whole essence of elections will be defeated. The judiciary, as currently positioned in our country by our constitution, especially the Supreme Court, is such that whatever comes out of there puts an end, rightly or wrongly, to litigations. But yes, there is need for us to be God-fearing. But when those who are at the temple of justice says, this is it, I think we should learn to just accept it the way it is. And hoping, what we should hope for is a clean and reliable judiciary that will always give out judgments that we can, rely on.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your contribution on this newspaper review. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's get into the papers now, see what the headlines are this morning. And I have certainly with me in the studio Dario Dufo-Okon as well as Jide Ologun. Gentlemen, nice to see you both.
Good morning.
Great. Let's begin with Blueprint. Blueprint is where we start from this morning as COVID-19 hits 73 countries. DG Disease Control Center, Ihekwazu, quarantined. And Dangote boosts fight with 200 million naira and UN $15 million. Death toll now 3,000. Disease affects 90,000. And Kwara places 16 on watch list. Abia sets up committee. The reps may adjourn. You'll find all this on the front page of the Blueprint rather. Now, Leadership newspaper is next, and it says Senate begins legislation to monitor service chief's appointment. Presents bill for establishment of Armed Forces Service Commission, agency to ensure reflection of federal character in selection process. You have all that on the front page of the Leadership, and I think this might interest my guests to talk about, and even Nigerians. News Direct is the next one now. It says 4 Southwest states join Ekiti Assembly to pass the Amotekun bill. Okay. From there, let's go to Daily Trust. Coronavirus. Outrage as reps resolve to shut down for 2 weeks. No sanitizers in ministries and agencies. NCDC boss quarantined. And State House screens staff and visitors. And Dangote donates 200 million naira to fight the virus in the country. That's the Daily Trust. From there, let's go to the Daily Times. Daily Times is focusing on the Imo governorship judgment. Supreme Court dismisses Ihedioha, PDP's application. Verdict is endorsement of electoral fraud, says PDP. APC congratulates Uzodimma, says electoral judicial reforms expedient. Wonders shall never end, says the dissenting justice there on the judgment. All right, from the Daily Times, let's go to the Nation newspaper, which says that WHO to trace 103 travelers on flight with Italian victim, and that's in Nigeria. And Nigeria enlists world body to help in doing that. Coughing Chinese on arrival at Lagos airport tests negative. Okay, this sent panic amongst people when they speculated it was going to be the second case, but it has come out negative, so we still have 1 case in Nigeria. From this, let's go to This Day newspaper. This Day is the last one we'll be looking at now. Supreme Court asserts its supremacy, reaffirms Ihedioha's ouster. PDP kicks Oshamale Uzodimma hail verdict. APC calls for urgent electoral judicial reforms. All that on the front page of This Day newspaper. All right, gentlemen, I'd like to take your attention to the story on the front page of the Leadership, which says that Senate begins legislation to monitor service chief's appointment. A lot of people will say this is a welcome development, depending on how it is seen. We saw in the last few years, Nigerians have been commenting about the president appointing service chiefs from a certain section of the country, which some people felt it was not. It didn't go down well with a lot of them. Others have said, well, that shouldn't even be the issue. Are they doing the job or not? Are they Nigerians or not? But Jide, let me start with you on this. How welcome is this development?
The fact that we are addressing it means that what we've been implementing has not been effective. Okay. Because if we have security in the land, few would have bothered themselves about the framework. So I think that reflects the reality we have. And of course, the next question to ask is that, are we reflecting the federal character in the appointment of these offices? And right now, the answer also is no. So I'm impressed that we are looking at it, because when you look at the constitution that binds us together, it's based on the principles of equity, fairness, and justice. And of course, it is participatory also. And we have the National Assembly representing us, 109 senators, 360 House of Reps members. So if there are issues in our society that is not allowing us to receive the dividends of democracy, like we like to refer to them, then we should address these issues. The alternative is for us to have good returns on our investment, but with the level of insecurity in the country,
All right.
it calls for concern.
Okay, Dari, the issue of federal character, from the wise men that crafted that into the Constitution, looked at the peculiarity of Nigeria and decided, well, give everybody a sense of belonging, whether those who hold the post hold it on behalf of Nigeria or not, whatever it is, give everyone a sense of belonging. But in this case, I wonder why, are we moving forward in the area of reducing the emphasis on where these appointees come from?
There is no way, we want to reduce emphasis on tribe, on language, on religion, and such things that divide us. But where a section or a part of the country is given the feeling that it is not part of this system, which no matter how slight such feeling is, it will still tilt the apple cart.
All right.
So there is need for us to be conscious in seeking balance. We should be conscious not to promote the things that divide us, but we must work hard on coming forward with those things that will unite us. It's either we like it or not. I think gradually the National Assembly is championing the cause of restructuring. Not just the National Assembly, now even the executive. President Muhammadu Buhari recently said there will be need for us to seriously look at community policing. One of the issues that restructuring is about. Now, the National Assembly is saying we will look at the appointment of service chiefs. There is no way each divides of the country will not be interested in who occupies these very, very important positions. That's a fact. Now, why are we doing it now? It takes us to the issue of who has the power now, Mr. President. And for a while now, a good number of Nigerians are of the opinion that, look, can we change these fellows? And the president is just one man. He will think as an individual. He will take advices from people close to him. They are not up to 500,000 people that he will take these advices from.
But ultimately, the Constitution gives him the power to listen or not listen.
So, if we now find a way of taking such powers from him and putting it in the hands of more persons, maybe the National Assembly, maybe a commission, you see, where more persons will have to put heads together and decide. Maybe we will see a situation whereby when we have situations as we have now, the people concerned won't be too rigid or too far-sighted from the reality to take appropriate action
but even then, in that kind of situation, there's also the talk of external influence. We have seen those kind of influences in so many commissions that we have,
yes,
so many corporations we have.
But at least we will take it away from the sphere of one man failed to do something. The idea of Mr. President failed to change the service chiefs, it will no longer be. And then you should also understand the fact that the federal character is not a mirage. It's a reality enshrined in our constitution. And if you apply it in A, you will be good enough to apply it in B. A lot of persons, as regards the service chiefs, will be denied the opportunity of attaining such positions because they will bow out of the military while they spend, whose tenure or whose service ended some while ago, but they are being kept in office because Mr. President feels, look, I am comfortable with them, or something like that. So if this looking at it will change the status quo will liberalize
All
the
right.
appointment process, it will do us a lot of good.
Okay. Now, Jide, the point there is, when it comes to the administrative structure and monitoring and, you know, that area of things, a lot of people will say, well, that is different from the service chiefs being in the war room, you know, on the field, you know, fighting terrorism or fighting insecurity, as the case may be. What impact will this have in the efficiency of the service chiefs? If I
The
have to
only
ask?
way this can have impact is when we decide to allow justice.
Okay.
Do we need security as a nation? Yes. Does it matter who delivers security? Personally, my answer is no. But if the security is not delivered, why is it not delivered?
Right.
I think why people are bothered now is that it appears as if there is a regional interest to promote violence. And people are saying, can we handle this? And those who are expected to handle it are giving the impression that there is no problem, that everything is okay. And people are saying, no, perhaps if we allow others to manage this, we get a better result. So it's all about performance, management by objective, not exactly the ethnicity that is there. I've asked this question several times. Does the crude oil of Nigeria has any ethnic coloration? It's a blessing to the whole nation. We have the gold in Zamfara. We have the limestone in Kogi State, everywhere. Can we come together as a people, harness it, enjoy it?
Okay.
The principles of the constitution we manage is on justice, equity, and fairness. Let everybody be involved, and we enjoy it. As it is now, who is enjoying the benefits of this country? Because the elders have a saying, when a bird lands on a rope, both the bird and the rope are not at peace. So we can only unite as a nation, allow everyone, and allow good governance.
All right, which is most important, good governance. Thank you very much, Jide Ologun, for your time on the program. Thank you.
God bless Nigeria.
Dario Defo, welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.